So now we have seen different data types in Python along with different data operators, methods, functions that we can use, and string formatting. Now it's time to have a quick look into type conversion. Type conversion refers to converting one data type to another. It can be done in two ways: implicit type conversion, which is automatically performed by Python interpreter, and the explicit type conversion, which is also known as typecasting. This is done by user based on a specific requirement through predefined functions. So let's have a look at implicit conversion. Say we have two variables, variable 1 defined as 5, which is an integer value, and then variable 2, which is defined as product of variable 1 with 2.5, which is a float value. Now, if we are supposed to print variable 1, so we'll print variable 1 along with type of the variable. We are going to get 5, an integer. So let's print it. So we can see value is 5 and class is integer. Now, if we were supposed to print variable 2, now it could either be integer because variable 1 was an integer, or it could be float. So in such a case, Python would automatically convert variable 2 to float because out of integer and float, float has higher information because it contains value after decimal. So always remember, while doing any implicit conversion, Python will always opt for the variable which has more information to avoid any data loss. So in case of integer and a float, it will always go with the float. So let's print this. So the product of 5 and 2.5 is 12.5 and the class is float. Now, this was one example of automatically conversion, implicit conversion done by Python. There can be many other examples, but you get an idea, right? If you are working with data types where the data types has to be changed, Python will do it implicitly, and it will always go with the one which has more information. Now, suppose we have to do this explicitly. So we'll break this into three parts. One, we will look into simple type conversion between uh, data types like integer, float, string, and boolean. Next, we will see type conversion between containers. Within that, we'll break it into containers like list, tuple, set, and then dictionary. So let's take them one by one, starting with the basic data types. So we have defined four data types here: integer, float, string, and boolean. Okay, let's print their data types. So I'm uncommenting it, and as I've told you, usually typing takes a lot of time. That's why I have kept the code ready this time so that we can just go through it quickly and talk about the concepts rather than putting a lot of time into typing itself. So I'm just running this code. Okay, and as you can see, there are four different data types: integer, float, string, and boolean. Let me add a new line so it will not jump to the next code. Okay, now first we'll start converting integers into different data types. So this is section A. So first we'll convert integer to float. We will do this by using float, right? So the float function will provide argument as A, which was integer value, and then we will see what is the type. So this is the hard-coded value float A, then we are uh, giving the value and then followed by the type. So let's see what is the output. So output is float. So we have been able to convert integer to float. Similarly, we will just convert integer to string, and this type we will use a string function. We'll pass the same argument and then print the type. And next, let's do integer to boolean conversion also, and then we will print them together. So first we have used float, then string, and then boolean. I'll press shift enter, and you can see 5 is converted to float, to string, and to boolean, right? So this is pretty interesting. You can see, um, though it is a numeric value, boolean was able to convert it to a true value. So when you are using function boolean to typecast a value into boolean, it will return true unless it is false, empty, none, or zero. So if you want to see what are the conditions or what are the values which are going to return a false, then here's a quick summary of the same. Either you pass a false value, none, empty container, zero, or you pass object of classes that have boolean, underscore boolean, double underscore or underscore len method, and which returns value to false. Apart from this, whatever you are passing or typecasting to a boolean will always return true. Similar to integer, let's convert float to different data types. So we'll first convert float to integer by using integer, then we'll convert float to string by using string, and then we will convert float to boolean by using boolean function. So let's do them all in once. So here we should see an integer value, then a string, and then a boolean. So you can see integer, string, and boolean. We were able to convert float into all the remaining three types. Cool, isn't it? Similarly, we can try converting a string. So I'll just uncomment this and then we'll just run it. So it's very simple. When we are converting a string, it's very simple. We will just use the integer function when we want to typecast to integer, float when we want to typecast to float, and boolean when we want to typecast to boolean. So as you can see, when we converted um, a string to float, it added a decimal. In case of integer, there is no decimal value. And again, when we convert it to boolean, we are getting a boolean which is true. And finally, let's do the same for boolean. We will convert boolean to other three data types: integer, let me uncomment the code, then float, and then string. So let's first see what value we have assigned to variable d. We have assigned it value false. Okay. So first we are converting false to integer. So as we know, if we are converting false to integer, it should give 0. Then we are converting false to float. So that means it should give 0.0. And then we are converting it to string, which should convert it into string false. So let's see what's the output. So as you can see, the integer output is 0, the float output is 0.0, and the string output is false. Now let's change the value from false to true. Okay, and rerun the code. So we'll see 0 has been converted to 1 because that's the binary equivalent, and float is giving 1.0, which is quite expected as well, and the string value has converted from false to true. So this is how we have seen how we can convert these basic data types amongst each other. Now let's see how we can convert containers from one type to another. Now we have seen how we can convert dictionary to other data types. In this section, we'll see how we can convert other data types, other containers to dictionary. The prerequisite is if we want to convert anything to dictionary, the input should also have key value pairs. So for example, you will see when we are creating a list A, it has key value pairs 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. When we are doing the same for tuple, we have a key value pairs. String also has very well defined key value pairs. Now in case of set, it doesn't have a key value pair, and practically you will not get a requirement also to convert from set. But in case you do, then maybe you can use something called dictionary.fromKeys method, and then you can provide it keys, and then we can create a dictionary out of it. So we'll see that. Let's start with the list first. So we will use dictionary function and we'll pass it the list. So it's going to create a dictionary out of this list. Similarly, when we are going to create dictionary out of tuple, we will use dictionary function. When we have to create a dictionary from a string, then we will use the eval. So eval function will ensure that whatever string we are passing, it will get evaluated and get converted to dictionary. And when it comes to set, then what we are going to do is first we will say dictionary dot from keys, and we will give the set, which is 1 comma 1, and this is how we are going to give keys and values for a set and create a dictionary. So maybe you will not need it just for additional information, but these three are the ones which you might require in your actual business application. So let's run the code and see the output. So you can see we have been able to convert list to a dictionary, a tuple to a dictionary, a string, and then if you want, using this ad hoc manner, you can also convert a dictionary out of a set, right? So with that, um, we have seen the implicit type conversion and explicit type conversion using this functions. There are a couple of other very frequently used functions if you want to do type conversion. Here's a quick look. So for example, you can use integer, which will convert any data type to integer, and then you can also provide the base. For example, you want it at the base of 10, or you want it to be a binary base. You can provide, you can convert any data type to floating using float, into dictionary using dictionary, and we have been seeing this, right? It's not new. We know this. We can convert data into tuple using tuple. Then we can convert to set using set, list, string. I think we know all this, right? The additional ones are ORD, which actually converts character to integer. It returns ASCII code of the character. Then this is to get the character encoded by an ASCII code. This is for hexadecimal. This is for um, if you know, if you want to convert something to octal string, and then the complex. So with that, I don't think you will need the letter sections, and the key ones are which we have already seen: integer, float, dictionary, tuple, set, and others. So with that, I hope you got a pretty good idea of how you can use type conversion. And now we'll move on to the next section, which is statement and loops. So see you in the next video. Thank you.